What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are going to learn how to drive a manual transmission. Honestly, I think manuals are getting a little bit more popular. There's a huge array of really fun new sports cars that offer a standard transmission, and it really opens up just how you can learn to drive a car. I think they are so much more driver engaging. You have to literally control the vehicle because you're the one shifting through the gears, and it is a lot of fun. So first and foremost, let's get our bearings with it. This video is for the beginner. What is new in a manual? So down by your feet, you're going to see your gas pedal on the far right, just like in your typical car. Your brake is in the middle. That is also for your right foot. And then the new one is this clutch pedal on the far left. So this pedal, basically what it does, when you press your foot all the way down, you're separating the engine and the transmission. There's a clutch in between the two, and when I take my foot off the clutch, you're now clamping that clutch plate down to where the engine and transmission are connected, therefore driving the rear wheels. As soon as you press your foot on the clutch, that opens up those clutch plates, and now they're disconnected and you're technically in a neutral. You can just roll the car. So that is the tool you're going to use basically every time you shift. You have to press the clutch in to make a gear change. Now, right in the center is your gear selector. This is how you shift gears. You need to gear up every time you want to accelerate. So first gear, you can only go so fast in it. That is going to be how you start. And then the faster you go, you want to go into second, then third, fourth, all the way up. Now, the way you use the shifter, there's going to be a shift pattern either on the shifter or right by it. First gear is going to be to the left, and you're going to push it forward. Then second gear, you're going to pull it straight back from that position. Third gear, you're going to kind of go at an angle, so you're going to push it forward halfway into this neutral position, and then straight up into third, straight back into fourth, and then for fifth, you're going to push it up a little to the right into fifth, and then straight back into sixth. So to go ahead and start up, we always wiggle the shifter, make sure we are in neutral, press your foot on the clutch, and go ahead and fire it up. So then with the car running, how do we start moving? So you're probably going to be with someone who maybe owns the car you're learning to drive manual in, so they'll hopefully set it up nicely. You're going to put your foot on the brake, disengage whatever kind of parking brake your car has, and now we can roll if we take my foot off. So I am at a slight downhill. Honestly, go ahead and start on a decline. That's going to make it a lot easier to learn how to do this. But the way you're going to do this is put your foot all the way down on the clutch, and you're going to engage first gear. Now from here, since we are on a slight downhill, it's going to help us out. You're just going to slowly take your foot off the clutch. And when you get to that halfway mark, you're going to notice the tach is going to drop a little bit, your RPM is going to lower, and the car actually is probably going to accelerate just a little bit. So this is really easy if you're starting downhill. So foot off the brake, I'm rolling a little bit, just slowly taking my foot off the clutch, and now it's all the way off and I am going 5 miles an hour. So from here, just like a normal car, give it some gas, and now we are driving in first gear. Honestly, if you were learning to drive manual, start on a slight decline. It makes it so much easier. Now to shift into second gear, because obviously first gear can only go maybe 20 to 30 miles an hour, what you want to do is press your foot on the clutch, go ahead and make your gear change, slowly take your foot off the clutch, and while you slowly do that, you may have noticed my right foot just gives it the little bit of gas, just the slightest bit. You want to take your time, you want to do slow movements, nothing too crazy. You don't want to just mash the gas or dump the clutch or anything. You want to take very, very slow baby steps. And now we are driving in second. Honestly, if you start downhill like that, you probably won't even stall. It'll be insanely easy. And then to go to third, same thing, clutch in. We're going to go into that third gear, slowly take my foot off the clutch, give it a little bit of gas, and now we are driving. So if we get now on hopefully flat ground, let's come to a stop. So taking my foot off, not really rolling. So now this is your next step. What you want to do, clutch in, first gear. Now as you take your foot off the clutch, you're going to notice your RPM gauge is going to dip just a little bit. As it starts to dip, give it the slightest amount of gas. And a good way to practice how much gas you want, go back into neutral, take your foot off the clutch, just practice revving the engine a little bit to feel out how much throttle input affects the engine. The goal is keep it under 2,000. Just try to keep it maybe around 1,000 RPM, just holding those revs a little bit. So clutch in, first gear. I'm going to hold it around 1,000 with my gas pedal and slowly take my foot off the clutch while I'm trying to keep that RPM at 1,000. And now we are driving. And once again, the gear change, second gear. And we are getting up to some speed. Now, of course, as you get out on the main road, you're going to be able to do things a little bit faster. You're going to go into your third gear, faster you go into fourth gear and things like that. So it's a pretty basic concept, quite honestly, and if you start downhill, that'll really give you kind of a good teaching moment to not have to have every single thing against you. Now on the flip side, let's go uphill, and we're going to practice a hill start. This is the most intimidating thing when learning to drive manual. So also, a lot of the cars will have a hill start assist. This car that I'm in today, my 2023 Supra, it does have that. However, not every car is going to have that, so don't rely on the driver aids. Now, to do a successful hill start, you're going to do clutch in, keep your right foot on the brake. As you can see, we're like that. Go into first gear. What I'm going to do is slowly take my foot off the clutch and kind of hold it at the halfway mark right when the RPM starts to dip. When it does that, you're going to have enough time to take your foot off the brake and start giving it that little bit of throttle, and you're not really going to roll back at all because you're slipping the clutch just enough to not roll back. So, if I take my foot off the clutch, we're dipping a little bit, give a little bit of gas, and continue taking my foot off, and we didn't roll back at all. So that is how you're going to want to do a hill start. Take it easy, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time. You may stall it once or twice, but those are kind of the basics on how to drive the manual. All right, so flipping to the point of view, hopefully you guys get a really good understanding of how it's all going to work. So that is the tack that we were talking about. You can see how that revs up as I give it some throttle. So that is what you want to slowly do. And as you can see, idling's around 750 RPM. If I give it a little bit of gas, you know, we can hold it close to 1,000 right there. So that's kind of what you want to practice, is being able to do that. And then the shifter itself, there is a better look at it. So clutch in, of course, there is first gear, second gear straight back from there. Now third gear, you can see how it's up and over. So put it into the neutral, over and into third, fourth is straight back, fifth into that neutral area, fifth and sixth. And keep in mind, neutral is when you can wiggle it, and neutral is the natural center basically. Now reverse, it's always gonna be a little different per car. This one you push it over and then really push it over and then up into reverse. So every car will be a little bit different. So let's go ahead and get up to speed once again. So foot on the brake, we're gonna take that brake off right now, clutch in, we are going downhill a little bit, first gear, and all I really need to do, since I'm at a slight decline, take my foot off the brake, we are rolling, and just slowly take my foot off the clutch, not even giving it any gas. And once again, we are rolling at 5 miles per hour. So from here, just give it a little bit of throttle, we are accelerating into second, slowly take that foot off the clutch, just give it the slightest of gas, and now we are driving in the car. So now if we come to a flat spot again, into neutral, take your foot off the clutch. So same type of deal, clutch in, first gear, and take my foot off the brake, we're not moving. Slowly take my foot off the clutch, but give it a little bit of gas, keep those revs, and we are accelerating. Keep in mind, your clutch is in, your gas is not. It's basically a slow movement of taking your foot off the clutch and giving it the slightest bit of gas. And we're accelerating again. Just that same movement, clutch off, slowly giving it a little bit of throttle to maintain your acceleration. Now, as we get onto a main road, you're basically gonna do the same thing, just give it more gas to get higher in the speeds. When you're first learning, a big parking lot is fantastic to learn in. Stay slow, keep it simple, and you will do a really good job. So, we're gonna go ahead and clutch in, first gear, slowly do that same maneuver, go a little faster. Now we are driving. Now when we are slowing down, we have a left-hand turn. You don't want to get too boggy and too low in the revs. So I'm going to put my clutch in and go down now into second gear. Slowly take your foot off the clutch when you do a downshift to get to a slower speed. Clutch in a little over into that third gear. Slowly took my foot off the clutch and gave it a little gas. A little bit of gas into the next gear. And then once again, if I'm slowing down, you want to just clutch in, downshift, just slowly take your foot off that clutch, that way it's not jerky. And then if you do want to get a little bit more into downshifting, blip the throttle, give it just a little bit of gas, because if I go into second gear right now, notice how I'm at 2,500 RPM, second gear is now at 3,500 RPM. I gave it a little bit of gas when I downshifted because I knew that the lower gear would need a higher RPM. Some cars will have a rev match button or system to where it will do that for you, but it is good to learn how to do that on your own. So going into third, flip the throttle a little bit. We are into third, around 3,000 RPM. As I slow down, same thing into second. You want to give it a little bit of gas for a smooth gear change. So that is kind of the fundamentals on how to drive this transmission. It's pretty easy once you get used to it, really not all too hard. And then if we're gonna go into reverse now, so clutch in, we're just gonna turn around a little bit. What you wanna do, get into that reverse gear, and then go ahead and give it a little bit of gas while slowly taking your foot off the clutch. Generally, you may not ever take your foot completely off the clutch in reverse because you're just doing it for a couple feet, but it's pretty easy overall. So into second. Now we can give it a little bit more gas. The same motion over and over. It's really simple. And the better you get, the more you practice, the quicker you're gonna be able to do everything, and it just becomes pretty easy overall. All right guys, so that is about it on how to drive a manual transmission car. Overall, it's pretty simple, and you have some simple items in the car that you're gonna be learning. You have your gear shifter with all of those gears, really understand how a tachometer works, and then those 3 pedals back there. You just want to learn how everything works. Another thing worth mentioning, when you do come to a stop, go ahead and leave your clutch in and foot on the brake, pull your e-brake, put yourself into neutral, and then go ahead, shut the car off. From here, my feet are still holding those down. We're gonna go into first gear, and now you can go ahead and let everything off. The reason why you want to do it in that sequence is that way the weight of the vehicle is sitting on the parking brake, not your transmission. If you're on a hill, especially, and you put it into gear, shut it off, take your foot off the brake and the clutch, the car is now sitting on the transmission. So you want to make sure you put your e-brake first before engaging any gear. That's just a great way to park it. Other than that, you know, this is a fun transmission. It really is a whole new way to drive a car, and especially in a fun sports car like in this, it really connects you to the car, and it's a blast. And there are so many unique cars that offer manuals that don't come in automatics, and it's fun to be able to drive every single car. So I hope you all enjoyed how to drive a manual transmission in the manual Toyota Supra. It's an amazing car, and manuals are just so much fun. They are kind of a dying breed. However, I feel like they're getting more popular. There's a lot of awesome cars offering these transmissions, and they are worth buying. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. See you all in the next video.